I don't know what's going on at this point.
You need a reboot?
No. Oh,
It
there it
says
goes.
watching
Yeah,
live.
now we went back live. Sorry about that, everybody. That was kind of crazy. We are back live. I don't know for how long. Let's see if this works or not. There
It
it
says
goes.
watching
Yeah,
live.
And
The
now.
other is out. So let's see if everybody makes their way to the new.
Are you in that chat? Can you tell them to come over
No,
to the
I
new?
booted out and.
Oh, I got you. All right.
Okay.
So, everybody, I'll
It's not
try
a
and post
jumping.
the link. What's that?
It's not.
Yeah,
Like
so
it went.
it must have been OBS because I had to restart everything. So let me jump in Facebook. You talk to them for a minute, K Pro.
Okay.
Let me do a couple
What I was
things.
typing is something very ornery that said, "Oh, we tried to get Forrest finally into the chat room, and look what or into the as a guest, and look what happened." And I was just being silly, and it wouldn't have come off really well. So, yes,
But you
tonight
just said it anyway.
I just said it. Well, when I say it, people understand how silly I am, and they know I'm joking.
Right.
When you type it, people are like, "Oh my gosh, can you believe it?" And I do that a lot. Like Facebook people, they don't find me very funny at all. Most people don't find me funny. I think I'm hilarious, but
they
most
hate
people
you.
kind of like, yeah, they hate me. Most people hate me. Just like I will say in the video of us dancing, I am. Someone said, "Oh, you're Elaine Bennis from Seinfeld." Yes, I am. And as long as
You remember that video where she danced? That was
yes,
fun.
she's like, that's me. I'm fine with that as long as I'm having fun. Why does that?
They're
Okay.
not laughing at you; they're laughing near you. There's a difference. Remember that, everybody. All right,
Yeah.
let me post this link a couple places,
Trey
and we'll get
sure
on
thinks
with
I'm
the
hilarious.
show.
And Vicky thinks I'm funny. I have two. You know what? Two people. Two can keep a secret that thinks I'm funny. So there you go. So
All
okay,
right,
so our
almost
sound should be
done.
okay. We have so much to talk about tonight, Mike. We're now 9 minutes behind. How can we have this happen?
Well, we're gonna
Because
go long. That's all.
we have some big news.
I'll
Big like
send the new link to Forrest right now.
sent the new link to Forrest because yeah, I sent him the old link. And
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
and KJ thinks I'm funny. Milk in the silly mug.
What happened?
Holy, there's totally milk in it. If you want it to be milk, let's think of it. It's totally milk.
Uh-huh. So let me delete the old one. So
What
people
is True
don't get
Believer saying?
confused.
Because you realize True Believer's in the room?
True Believer is in the room. What's up, True Believer?
Yeah. Do you remember we met True Believer?
Yeah. He's a poker player. I remember True
He's
Believer.
a poker player. There's a few poker players out there.
The way I look at it is
Okay.
if people want to watch the show, they will find out where we're at. All you got to do is go to Cowlazars on YouTube and you'll figure
Yeah,
out
but
where
I'm
we're at.
super frustrated when I'm in one room and then it moves. And so we're sorry too, at the same time as saying, find us, find us. We're also saying, we're sorry. Technical issues happen, but Mike is here for us. And I had Toby on the ready. I was like ready to like hit the button. Oh, okay. I'm not looking at my messages tonight, guys. So I'm sorry I read that. When are you growing out your hair and cutting a juicy mullet? Sturmworm wants to know.
Nice. Yeah, that'll be never.
Ah,
Well, never say never, but I don't know about the juicy part. Let me put it that way.
juicy. Wow. Okay.
And recently, I actually heard some people think I dye my beard just this part. And no, that's not correct. This is all not dyed. That's all how it comes in, everybody. It's kind of weird how it does that. But somebody's like, why do you just dye that part? I'm like, I don't. That's just how it works. So thank you for the super chat. Sturm
Yeah.
worm.
Sturmworm.
All
Thank
right.
you. Okay, so what we were saying is we're going to talk a little bit, just the first couple of minutes, on a few things. Like you can thumbs up, you can super chat. It keeps us going, and we have some fun things planned. All I will say is there's something a brewing for the next few weeks, and Mike has promised me or mandated because he is the head of this operation. Do not say anything. He's sworn me to secrecy, and so
Although, if you super chat, we do say we're going to answer the question. So I don't know. That's up to K-Pro, though. But anyway,
and
all right.
I'll do it in Fenn speaker Finnish, and I will like
Finish.
answer,
That's
but
pretty
not
funny.
really answer. That was a debate on Facebook today. Is it called Fenn speak, Finnish? What is it? So I say it's Finnish, but something's gonna it just for the channel. It's gonna be super fun. And so,
Yeah, it should be fun, and we'll make it fun, even if it's not. So, True Believer says, I found something interesting today. The map in the Robert Louis Stevenson book, Treasure Island, has the initials JF on it, just like JF is in the illustration in Forrest's book.
right on
Supposedly, the
99.
signature of Captain J. Flint. Maybe page 99 is a map. That's kind of interesting that it's a whole Treasure Island related. You know, the book Treasure Island. Oh,
We
that's cool.
break stuff loose on this chat. People are running, going boots on the ground right now. Wait.
William, you should only have to click through the advertising once, and then you should be in the show. At the beginning, it will do an ad, but that should be
Oh
it.
no, I bombed his computer after last
Oh.
week, and he has to do it 9 times.
Nice.
kidding.
9 times.
Sorry, not sorry.
Yeah, right.
Okay,
All right.
Oh.
Are you looking that up, or are you not looking that up?
I
sure
was
what you're
looking
doing.
it up.
Page
Yeah,
99.
JF
Yeah.
here. I don't have.
Well, a lot of people think it means just Forrest. Or I don't know if Forrest ever said that, but somebody said I thought they said they asked him, what does JF mean? Or they're guessing it means just Forrest. Nobody
Okay.
really knows.
Can I go off on a tiny little rant, and then I will check myself? So somebody was blowing Mike up on Facebook. Mike, I don't even know if you noticed it. I jumped right into the middle of the controversy. You're like Mr. Easygoing.
I'm busy.
And they're like, I know, I'm busy too, but I defend you, my friend. They were like, Forrest has said there are no crosswords in this poem. And of course, Sam Smith, and we love Sam Smith, he was like, no. And I was like, can you give us a quote? Because I'm not going to blow someone up, I want to give them a chance. They're like, I'm not doing your research for you. Okay, so and I've made this problem too, so I'm not going to say that I'm not guilty of it. When you say Forrest Fenn has said something, we don't care about your perspective, interpretation, what you think he might have said and changed some words. If you say he, quote, has said there are no crosswords in that puzzle, I actually think he might be right, but that's not the point. The point is, don't say he said exact words, just like anagram. Has he ever said there's no anagrams in the poem?
He's never said that.
He said ciphers, he said all these other things. So before you become an authority and get all postured up and say, here is where you're wrong and Forrest has said it, you gotta kind of provide some evidence. If you don't, you look just plain silly. So there's my rant for tonight.
Just plain silly.
And don't think when I ask for you for an exact quote and you say, I'm not doing your work for you, okay, then bzzz, like Mike says to me. I don't like when Mike tells me to shush. He'll go bzzz, 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 and that tells me. So this is what I say
I have
to the
done that, huh?
guy. You have, and it's cute when you do it that way. So I'm going to say this to the crossword guy, bzzz, until I can get a quote.
Right. Well, if you say something, you just have to back it up, or just say it's my opinion. And then if it's your opinion, well, that's fine.
Back it up, Buttercup.
That's all. So I think people are going to the little 3-minute video we had where we had problems. So I'm trying to post it to let people know.
Okay. So yeah, exactly. Copper Dan.
Copper Dan in the house. How you doing, Dan?
Copper Dan. Yeah, we had to reboot. I'm sorry, you guys are making your way in. So, let's talk.
It is loud a little bit for me. Is K-Pro loud in the chat room? I don't know. It's loud to me, but that's just
loud in life, baby.
Tom Sawyer says, when I wrote that poem, I wasn't playing any games. It's straightforward. Forrest Fenn. That's right. Straightforward.
Yeah. If you're putting that, does that mean crosswords? I know. Well, I believe, and there's no exact quote out there, Forrest has done a crossword or two in his life.
Mm-hmm.
Just saying it loud and saying it proud. Okay. Dirk says I'm always loud. Okay. If I'm louder, she's not loud. She's proud. Thank you. There's all spectrum of the chat room. Some love me, some hate me. Most probably. Okay. So let's talk about let's just get this out of the way because this is non-Forrest stuff, and we don't really have anything else at the end. So let's talk about Silver Coin Hut, Massachusetts. It's done. It's solved. It's complete.
Yeah, Sasha found it. Good job, Sasha. She's the one who found it. And it is in the mail. I emailed her. I put it in the mail yesterday. 2019 coin number 36.
Yeah, so there are treasure hunters everywhere. Jason, I think, is the one that posted on the Cowlazars Facebook, and then Sasha emailed. So we have searchers everywhere looking for these. So congrats to Sasha. That's it shipped off today. And we were actually at function or right around then, and things were crazy when the CNN interview came out. I know everybody's seen it, but I wanted to make sure to say I really think that was handled so well. Being on CNN and such a national platform, I was really impressed by not only the interview where there was a very good poise and delivery, she actually corrected a national reporter on no, actually, it is this, and
Right.
did really well. So I just wanted to give a shout out. I think there's going to be a lot of articles coming out over the next 6 months or so. And if we keep representing the community well, like Sasha did, I think it's going to be awesome. So
I agree.
I shout out where shout out is due. Good job, and we'll keep them coming with as much. And I think Fenberry, there's going to be.
Right.
I know I've already talked to recruiters that are going to Fenberry, so I think it's awesome. So
Anybody in the chat room going to Fenberry? Just put a yes if you're going to Fenberry. Lead Fenn searcher says, "Who is Sasha?" That's probably a joke, but if it's not, just put in Sasha Forrest Fenn on YouTube, and you will see her YouTube channel. You can watch her videos.
yeah, alrighty.
Copper Dan.
Here, let me drink. Let me drink out of my cool coffee. If you guys didn't see this, I have a cool coffee mug. And Mike says you drink from the bottom, but that's not true. That's not true.
Wayne Ross says yes, he's going to Santa Fe. Hatchet Jack is going. I mean Santa Fe for function.
Oh.
I mean for Fenberry. So that's
okay.
Cool.
And I will tell you, Wayne Ross, I am going to bomb Mike by the end of the night if we have time, because you've caused a little mischief, my friend.
I did.
Night. No, Wayne Ross.
Oh, what happened?
So I'm going to ask you a few things just generically, but you might channel Wayne Ross in a minute.
Tom Sawyer says it's the funniest coffee mug I think I've ever seen. That's pretty good.
The coolest thing ever.
The only thing would be better is every time you drank out of it, if it went mrrr, one of those motion things where you turn it, it goes. That would be pretty funny.
You know what? It was $3.
Yeah, I better have one coming soon. Right?
Well, you might see one very soon, Mike.
All right, that's true.
Not allowed to talk.
All right, let's get to the poem. So that was so Sasha found the coin. Good job. Where was it? A lot of people were going to the wrong places in the park. First off, where was it? What was the park called?
Okay. So the Bible verses were all Bible verses about purgatory. So it was, I already gave the state, and it was Purgatory Chasm Reservation. Then there was a bunch of movie quotes, and I said, guys, the movie quotes just confirm, they're confirmers that you are in the right park. Many people were going to there was, I think, 3 or 4 different actual trails, and they were going to those trails, and they were emailing me. They went into a cave. They went into this. I almost felt like Forrest. It's like, don't go into a cave. All it was, after you got to the park, you enter, you go nigh. There
to the left. Nigh means to the left, right? So they say.
That's it. There was a building to the left that was a couple feet within the park. It was all, that was it. And so people got stuck for a while. And so the last show, we put a picture of the actual, oh, you're getting ready.
Yeah, sorry. That was actually an accident. But yeah, I'm getting ready for it.
Yeah. So anyway, that was was it. And so once we did foot race, it was solved within 8 hours. So many people had said, oh, it was taken. No, you just like Forrest poem. If you get there and you know where it is and it's not there, it's taken. No, it's not. You just haven't solved it.
Right.
So congratulations to.
It's just funny how a lot of people were going in the wrong places, kind of like we are with the Forrest Fenn poem. I believe.
Simplify. I kept saying simplify. It was I channeled my Forrest Fenn in that one.
Velvet Hippo says very amusing. Get it? Moo. That's pretty good.
Oh boy. Oh boy.
And hey everybody, Maria here. Gonna miss Fenberry. So I think that's a new one. Hello Maria. Thank you for joining us tonight. Redneck Express is here. Tony Rusi, Vicky, AJ Rainville in the house is posting Forrest Fenn quotes left and right. And there is a quote that I want to talk about, but when we get to the poem. Okay. Anything else before we get to the poem?
Yeah, cookies matter. It's a movement. It's a national movement. Cookies matter. But keep going, Mike.
So somebody said hard-hitting content, folks. The I in the first stanza is Forrest Fenn. Yeah. Oh, that's right, because I have it. So this is the poem that we used last time, everybody. And these is just the thoughts that we had on the last video that we did on the poem. So Now, are we just going to skip the first stanza and talk about second?
No, we're going to do whatever you say, Mike, but you said Homer Brown. Don't tease it and then don't give us
We're
the
going to talk about Homer Brown.
Yeah, okay.
So just to recap, first stanza, Forrest Fenn. I is Forrest Fenn. He's gone alone in there with his treasures bold, and he can keep his secret. So the I is Forrest Fenn, meaning the first stanza is all about himself. There are no directions in the first stanza, in my opinion. Again, everybody, this is me and K Pro's opinion. And K Pro, you jump in here anytime.
And we don't agree all the time.
You
so
disagree with me. Yeah, that's what I was just going to say.
Wait till you get to Homer Brown, baby.
Right.
Just
so there are, and I'll even put it on here, no directions. Now, that doesn't mean there's not hints or there's not confirmers in the first stanza. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying he's not telling us where to go yet. There's no directions in the first stanza, okay? We know clue number 1 is begin at where warm waters halt. So what I wanted to talk about, when we went to Yellowstone, we heard a couple things, and one of them was, could Homer Brown be clue number 2? And a lot of people say, no, Homer Brown can't be clue number 2 because of what Forrest said. So let me bring up, this is Cynthia's blog.
Okay, I'm not going to preface this as Mike's doing that. Mike and I disagree on this subject. So I'm going to let him talk because I rarely do that. That's my shout out to Silver Fox. I love you. I'm going to let Mike talk, but then I am going to give my perspective. So Mike, over to you.
All right, so this is Cynthia Meacham's blog, chasingfenntreasure.com. Everybody should check out chasingfen.treasure.com. Go up here to Fenn Quotes, and right here there's a lot of interesting things that Forrest has said, but the one that I want to concentrate on is... now watch, I can't find it. Is the one where he talks about the 3 clues. Do I have the wrong one? Let's see. Fenn Quotes about his special place. Nope, that's not it. Fenn Quotes about clues and hints. I think that's it. Okay, hang on. I had it, and then I lost it. How to solve the poem. Maybe it's how to solve the poem. It's interesting. But you see how many quotes there are, right? So you see why it takes a little while. That's not it either. Oh, here we go. Okay.
Yeah, control find. Hit control.
Yeah, here it is. I had to find the right page because she's got a lot of info. So, you told... I was right there. What happened?
I don't know. You're the tech guy.
What the heck? I think Cynthia's messing with us. Okay.
Okay, there it is.
Yeah, you told the reporter that there are 3 or 4 clues in the second stanza. Were you telling the truth, Allison R.? So Forrest says, I don't know what it is about girls, but when I say something, they automatically ask if I'm lying. I'm leaving that alone. Shame on you, Allison R. I promise you that I get more things right than most reporters. If you were here, I would make you take a dose of castor oil. Besides, if I lied to the reporter, what makes you think I would tell you the truth now? But now he gets the actual answer to the question. Sorry, Allison, I'm off my soapbox. No, I was not lying, but I don't remember asking a reporter asking me such a question. No, maybe that's why I'm doing wrong with this mouse of mine. So, hang on. Why did I lose it again?
Did you keep trying to highlight it?
Yeah, and I don't know why that's doing that. All right, hang on. Sorry, everybody.
Third one. I think it was the third one.
This one here? Nope. Everybody should be on the website looking for themselves right now.
There it is, right there.
Okay.
Don't highlight anything, Michael.
The question is, you told the reporter that there are 3 or 4 clues in the second stanza. Forrest says, no, I was not lying, but I don't remember a reporter asking me such a question. So when Forrest says, no, I was not lying, does that mean there are 3 or 4 clues in the second stanza? Because this is not, his original quote was sounds like. Somebody says it sounds like there's 3 or 4 clues. Or somebody said it sounds like there's many clues, and he said it sounds like 3 or 4. This person asked him, you told a reporter that there are 3 or 4 clues in the second stanza. So when Forrest says I was not lying, but also says, I don't remember asking such a question. When he says not lying, does that mean there are 3 or 4 clues in the second stanza? Or is that more Fenn
That's
speak?
finish. This is finish. It's finish.
Well, then what's the
But
answer?
I do have to say, for me, it means 3 or 4 clues are in the second stanza. But he can wiggle out of it in case it doesn't happen to be so, and he wants to make us crazy, and he wants to make us have an hour show about it. That's the kind of answer he gives.
All right, so let's go on the assumption that that's true. When he says I was not lying, so it's another way. In other
Yes, and I
words,
agree with Wayne Ross. Wayne Ross said he said to answer one of the interviewers, she read the first stanza or that second stanza, and she said, "Is there a clue in there?" And he said something like, "I actually think there's 3 or 4, or sounds like 3 or 4 to me."
sounds
So
like,
I,
yeah.
yeah, so I think that's for me, and only my opinion. And I'm a searcher with no treasure chest
Mm-hmm.
at this time. I believe that means there's 3 or 4.
Okay, so let's go back to the poem. If go to the second stanza, because remember the first one does not hold directions in our opinion. Do you agree with that? First stanza doesn't hold any directions.
I will not say that. I believe there's a hint is there for some reason, whether it's
Yes, that's
direction.
yeah.
And I don't believe that there's a clue in that one. That's as
Okay.
far as I will go. I will not say not directions, general area, state. There is something to that first stanza that gets you to a general location. And I don't know what it is, but I'm not ruling it out because Forrest told me not to. Stop messing with his poem, Michael.
All right, we begin at warm waters halt. We know is clue number one. Take it in the canyon down is a direction. He's telling us to go down. In my mind, in my way of thinking, that means the flow of water. Doesn't mean it matter if it's north, south, east, or west. If I'm at a canyon that has water in it and somebody says go down that canyon, I'm going to go the direction of the water. That's down. Just my opinion.
Even if it's north?
Yeah, even if it's north. If I'm at a river and I'm assuming this canyon has water in it, doesn't mean it. But again, it might not because it's where warm waters
No,
halt.
no, there's water.
Well, right, and I think the water would be cold because we're starting where warm waters halt, right?
No, because he said tip your toe in it isn't warm. And so no. I'm gonna just say it like it is tonight
Well,
on what I think.
wait a minute. Did he say? He did say that. Dip your toe in it. Is it warm? I didn't remember the "is
Yes.
it warm" part. Okay, so you're trying to find. We're trying to find where warm waters halt. But if we're at the place where warm waters halt, wouldn't it be cold because the warm waters halted? So wouldn't it be cold?
No.
Why
I
not?
believe it is a hot spring that you sit in. There might be okay, so Michael, I
Mm-hmm.
wish you would have gotten an Ojo Caliente with me. When you're in Ojo Caliente, and there's some pictures out there that you all can see, the girls rule, the boys drool, because we got in there.
Mm-hmm.
When you are at the cold part of the fire hole, it's freaking cold right now. Then you move over to Ojo,
Right.
and it's a little bit warm. You move over, I had a burn. Well, I won't say what happened, but it got a little warmer than I had intended it to get. I believe that's where you're talking about a convergence of cold and
Oh, I
warm.
understand, and I
That is
agree
where
with you.
you get to, and I went New Mexico. I went boots on the ground with Cynthia, and there was a place you could literally sit in that brought those two together, and there was a whole little pool. That's what I think we're looking for. I think Forrest is bathed in it. I'm going to say it right now, right loud. It's nothing that has been said. I don't think tip your toe. I think he sat in it and he chilled and he looked at the world and said, "How does this get any better?" That's my opinion.
Right, but okay, so in order to know where warm waters halt, you have to know where the warm waters are. And the way you know
Right,
where the warm waters are is you test it with your toe. It has to be warm to your
right.
toe. Just like
Yes,
in the book, the bronze was warm to the touch, right? So we
yes.
have to feel it and it's warm. Just like at Ojo Caliente, you did that. But when it says take it in the canyon down, we're leaving the warm waters and we're going into the cold water. So the rest of that river is cold.
No,
The rest of the
you're
river
going to
isn't
get out.
warm.
Okay, so he loves the warm, and he's
Right.
going to get out of the warm and go to the cold
No, no,
frigidness.
no. We're not physically going down the canyon. We're walking, or actually, it says not too far to walk, so we're going to drive. But what my my point is,
We're not
when
driving.
you find out where warm waters halt, then you leave that place and you go down, and it's too far to walk, so we have to drive. What do people think of that?
I
Because
think the entire room just told me that you're wrong. I don't know how many are in there, but all of them, they all told me you were wrong. I'm sorry, I'm being ornery. Okay, so
well, right here at the bottom it says if Oh, there we go. I didn't go down far enough. It says your effort will be worth the cold. To me, where warm waters halt is where the cold water starts.
How did you get to warm water's hole? That's freaking cold. How did we get to Ojo Caliente? Ojo Caliente was freaking cold. We were all bundled up. Remember all the clothes that sat on that one little log, Mike? All the girls' clothes that sat on the rock when we got in the water?
Right.
That we were cold until we got in the water. All of our clothes were sitting out on that log.
But if we were there in August, it wouldn't have been cold.
But still, like you can go any time of the year. It would have been cold many months out of the year.
Okay, so I guess the point is Mike Nodine in the house. How you doing? I guess the point I'm trying to make is if you have the correct where warm waters halt, it's a water location. It is water because he said, "Can you dip your toe in it? Is it warm?" When you take it in the canyon down, if you go along with the water, is that south or is it the way the water flows? If it's the way the water flows, to me, it's going to be cold water. Or, in other words, do you go upstream or do you go downstream? What if downstream is south, upstream is north? Don't they say the Madison flows backwards? It flows to the north.
There's several
Right.
there's several streams and water features that do that. I will say I don't know for sure. I've
Right.
had saws that do both, so I'm gonna say I don't know. If it ends up being what you're saying, where it's literally downstream, sure, because that simplifies. That seems okay. I'm not gonna rule out going both ways when I find the right WWWH, which I believe maybe that is going to occur soon or already has.
Right. And Wayne Ross just says it's not so much that it's a long distance, but you can't walk it because of the terrain. I could agree with that too.
But that's the piece for, I believe the not far but too far to walk, first of all, is not a clue. And Sean and I, when I was over on another channel, were debating. And he's like, how can that not be a clue? I don't believe it is a clue. I believe it is a hint. It means maybe you're tired by that point. There's something that's overcome. I believe WWWH is number one, Canyon Down is number two, and number three is put in below the home of Brett. That's my three.
And it's possible, but I think the line 2 has the clue and a direction. He's telling us which way to go in the canyon.
No,
Now,
what you're saying, I'm hearing what you're saying, or tell me if I'm wrong.
Yeah.
WWH and Canyon are one. Is that what you're saying?
Well, I thought that, but what I'm saying is I looked up that quote on Cynthia's blog, and he said, no, I was not lying. So that tells me it's possible there are three or four clues in stanza number 2.
What are your three? Okay, what are your three or four? Give me your three or four.
Yeah, right here that are. I don't think too far to walk is. Well, it's too far to walk a clue. I don't think it's a clue because it's not a location.
Number one.
Yeah, yes, of course.
And he doesn't say WWWH with the canyon down and take it canyon. He says WWWH. I think that's
right.
number one.
I got you.
I
Okay.
think number two, you can't walk through the WWWH without hitting the canyon. I think those are too discreet. There's no question those are the first two.
Janet Landgard, how are you? Digital Treasure Maps, KJ, King of Rabbit Holes is here.
That's my soul brother, sister, whatever you are. Like, yeah, that's
whatever you are. The anonymity of YouTube. Okay, beginner world numbers halt. Clue 2. I do believe that Canyon Down is now clue number 2 because of that quote where he says I wasn't lying. In other words, he's saying I don't remember that question, but no, I wasn't lying if I said it, and he did say it. We know he said it. So. Canyon is number 2, and down is the direction. You've got to figure out, does down mean water flow or south?
Hold on, my head just exploded.
What?
Joel is saying clue number 1 is WWWH. Clue number 2 is put in below the Homer Brown. So you don't even think there's a canyon. You think that's just...
No, there is a...
nouns.
I'm
talking about Joel.
Yeah, I know. No, but I understand his theory. The theory is that when you're at warm waters halt, there's only one canyon. It's obvious you have to take it. There's no other way to go. It's not a separate clue because where WWH halts and the canyon starts is the same location. So those together is clue number 1.
Okay, thank you for translating, Joel. I don't agree with either of you. Okay. I like it just like it is. Clue 1, simplify, my friends. WWWH 1, Canyon 2. That's it.
And then Drawing Nigh says, can you narrow it down by the answer to each clue being a place on a map? And yeah, that was kind of my theory with Home of Brown. Now I'm reeling it in a little bit. I thought Brown, because it's capitalized as a person, place, or thing. Well, what applies? It's a place. We're looking for a place. And if Brown is an actual place, I think the word Brown is on a map. So it's Brown's Hole, it's Brown's Canyon, it's Brown whatever. But when people say, "Oh, the Ranger cabin that burned down," that's not on a map. So I think it's a place and it's a named location on a map. That's my current theory, anyway.
Okay.
So we got to
Well,
find WWH. We have to go down the canyon and then we have to look for something called Brown. Brown Campground.
and the
Brown whatever.
Fenn searcher says Joel is correct. Forrest told me. I'm not sure if you know. Joel thinks that Forrest Fenn is me, so I told him no, that's not true. So there you have it. So I agree with you. I am still sticking with what we had. There's 3 red, clue 1, 2, 3. It's still the 3. I think the far, not too far to walk, drive, don't walk. I don't think that's correct, but that's my opinion. I think you get out of your car at WWWH, you don't get back in until you're bringing that treasure chest home. My opinion for it, did Forrest give me some super secret hint on that? No, it's just my opinion. I think it's just more simple than what we're saying. Okay.
So, and again, we have another direction. Put in below the home of Brown. So if we find the correct home of Brown, we've got to go below it. Now, does that mean south, or will that be obvious once we find the correct home of Brown? If home of Brown is next to water, when he says put in, maybe it means you go along the water. I mean, we're going along a canyon that I'm assuming has water in it, so you would think the home of Brown would be next to the canyon. So that's a direction and a clue.
Okay, so for me, okay, Mike, so let's go higher level for a second. Do you
Mhm.
believe the 9 clues are 9 places on a map?
I believe they have to be because he's leading us to a location, to where this treasure chest is. He has to use geographic landmarks to get us there.
Okay,
So yes.
let me ask you another question.
Yeah.
Then does that mean that Homer Brown, it's not possible that Homer Brown is brown trout?
That's correct. That's correct. And that's what I meant. It's not a cabin. It's not brown trout. It's not a beaver. But the thing is, what if there's Beaver Lake? What if the canyon goes into Beaver Lake? Could that be home of Brown? I say no, because Brown is capitalized. And I think it's possible that Brown might be the word that is key that we're supposed to focus on. Now, a lot of people have said that. A lot of people have said Brown, and I didn't get it before. I'm like, well, how does that help you? But if you realize that Brown is a named location, it does help you narrow down.
Right. Okay. So you've gone from 2 different conversations. So let's jump to your new conversation. So when Forrest has said there's a word that we're not focusing on, everyone has focused on where warm waters halt, home of Brown, and Blaze. I think those are the 3 that, they've been exhausted. They've been talked about. They have been talked about to the point we're ready to throw up over them.
But I don't think they've focused on home of Brown in the right way. Meaning, when people said Brown is the word that is key, and people are talking about...
No, there's something that we what is the exact quote? Is it something that we haven't considered, or no one is focusing on the word that is key? They're focusing on that word, they're just doing it wrong. I think they've already focused on that word.
But if you focus on the correct word, but you're not focusing the right way, you're still not going to solve this thing.
You're not, but you are focusing on the correct word.
But yeah, we'd have to look up the actual
you're
quote.
Focusing on the correct word, you're just not interpreting it right. That is very different than you are not interpreting, or no one is focusing on the right word, which is it. I will tell you, the word is it. But
yeah, but I don't understand how that helps us. In other words, you have to figure out what it is. I get that, but is it in the book? I mean, how do we figure that out?
Okay, we need the exact quote because people are...
I'm looking it up. I'm going to Terry Scant right now.
Hi, Rick. Rick's in the house. Okay, and Copper Dan's talking about things inappropriately. Let's see.
Do what?
I know he's talking about beaver, and I'm not going to be. William is being inappropriate, and that's what William does.
All right, here's the quote, everybody. Ready? It is interesting to know that a great number of people are out there searching. Many are giving serious thoughts to the clues in my poem, comma, but only a few are in tight focus with a word that is key. It's the tight focus part. So in other words, let's say the word is warm. That's the word that is key. Everybody's thinking about warm. Everybody talks about warm, but nobody's in tight focus with it the right way.
No, he didn't say. Okay, so here's how I interpret it. You said a tight focus with a word that is key. Yes. He is not saying it's the wrong interpretation of the word. He's saying you're not even in tight focus with the word that is key.
To me,
the word that is key, you're not even looking at people. Come on, look at the right word.
To me, tight focus means the correct interpretation. That's what tight focus means, in my opinion.
No, it's okay to be wrong, but you're wrong, Michael.
I'm just giving you my opinion, everybody.
Okay, so put in the chat, guys. Mike is saying we've been focused in on the correct word. We're just not interpreting it right. I am saying we have not focused in on the right word, which is, in my opinion, where warm waters halt, Homer Brown, and Blaze should be ruled out because those have been focused on so much, and even Meek and a couple of others. Do you believe Mike is right? Just put Mike or Cow.
Yeah, Copper Dan
Or
agrees with me.
K-Pro. Well, okay, he doesn't have the treasure chest either.
But what the interpretation, tight focus means interpretation could be any word. In other words, everybody's talked about probably all the words in the poem, but we're not in the correct focus, the tight focus. We're not getting either the definition or we're not thinking about it in the right way.
Okay, so Mike, okay, it's Copper Dan saying you got Minnesota. Both Joel but Mike Nodine, he says that. Okay, there's a couple of mics. I agree with K Pro. Okay, there's a couple K Pros. Okay, only vote once, you guys. What do you think this is? The presidential election?
I know Craig Carter. He didn't say interpretation, but he said tight focus. If you're in tight focus with something, you're going to figure out what it is. In other words, you're looking at it closely. You're in tight focus. We can't focus on it because we don't have the right interpretation of whatever this word is. So when I've heard people talk about brown, they talk about a color of an artist. They talk about beaver. They talk about a log cabin.
Mike Pro.
Nobody's in tight focus with the right interpretation of brown.
I want to try to be persuasive in a different way. If I said to you, I said to your son, who is working on a sentence, and the sentence is wrong, and the teacher says you're not in tight focus on a word that is key. If he's focusing in on one part of it, doesn't that tell you focus in on something else? If you're not in tight focus that a word that is key, it means you're focusing on something and you need to focus on something different. It's not that you're focusing and you're interpreting it wrong.
Right.
It's you need to focus on something completely different.
Well, that's true. Yeah, I would agree with that. But he also put that quote out how many years ago? What's up, buddy?
A million.
We'll go.
But then didn't he talk with, I think he talked with Jason Dent, or sent Jason Dent an email or something a couple months ago. I don't know. The video is probably down, but there was something about, it's the same similar one to this. Similar words. I don't remember exactly. I'm sure I have it somewhere. Well, Evan agrees with me. It's obvious.
Well, there's people who don't even think the word is in the poem. That would be the first step.
But
because he said a lot of people are considering the clues in my poem, and however the rest of the quote goes, they're not in tight focus with a word that is key. To me, that implies that the word is in the poem. The word that is key is in the poem. I mean, let's say it's meek. So he says people aren't in tight focus with meek. Take out the word that is key. Let's actually put in the word. People are not in tight focus with meek. To me, that means interpretation. What does meek mean? Then you go to the definition, and you're like, how does he mean the word meek in this poem? How does he mean brown in this poem?
Okay, so here's what I take it as: you're not in focus with the word that's in key. You're not in focus with the right word. You're looking at meek. Why the hell aren't you looking at it, or brown, or walk, or creek, or hot? Why are you looking at the wrong word? That's my interpretation.
Maybe the word is title then. I mean, if it's not an obvious word, because it says what? But okay, I get it. In other words, if we figured out what it is, then we would know where warm waters halt because we begin it. So is it a river? Is it the journey? Is it something nobody's ever thought of? And that's why we can't find this thing. So what has me scratching my head is how do we determine what it is, or how do we determine which word it's key?
Step 2. Step 1 is let's interpret his words here, which is he said you're focusing on the wrong word. I hope there's a secret audio recording of that. He's focusing on the wrong word. That's my interpretation. I think it's so interesting because I've never thought about it like you, and I thought the entire room would go K-Pro, K-Pro, K-Pro. No,
they say Mike, just like on AGK.
No, they were doing AGK. It's pretty much a split house, like we always have.
But here's another one to throw everybody off.
What?
Hang on. What, buddy?
Okay, I want to go down to 1 as Mike is talking to his son and doing good things. So when he says title to the gold, somebody on Facebook, and I'll give them credit later, I don't remember the name, but this has been talked about several times. It's not credit to the treasure chest. It is not when I give you title to the treasure chest or title to the trove. He says I'll give you title to the gold. Why does he say title to the gold? Does he only give you the gold in there? There's lots of things outside of that gold, that treasure chest itself. There's many things
Well,
outside of it.
we know why he didn't say treasure. Because treasure is the word that's key, and it's the only word with 9 letters. But that's a whole other
Oh
discussion.
dear Lord!
Oh, we got a super chat from William.
Super chat.
That
That
statement seems to imply he's directing it to someone specific. We get stuck on the tight focus, but bypass the implication of it being one person. Well, I don't know about that because how many years ago did he make the statement? And he also said that treasure may
he's
be
talking
found
to me.
sooner than I anticipated.
It's amazing. All of the scrapbooks and everything he's talked about, it was to me, and it's.
But I will say that if
I
there
do agree with him though.
I will say that if there is a word that is key, and there is, because Forrest said there is, it makes sense that it would be in the first stanza. In other words, clue one is in stanza two, but the word that we need to figure out or have tight focus with is in
Yeah,
stanza one.
yeah,
So if it's
yeah.
not the word treasures, what word in stanza one could it be? I mean, he's got secret, he's got hint, new and old. Yeah, see, to me, treasure stands out. It's bold because it's the only word in the poem that has 9 letters.
Well, let's go back to what William said because I want to touch on this for a minute because
Uh-huh.
this has come up twice. When Forrest wrote his first surprise words about me, people were like, "Oh, let's anagram the word Christy and see what it means and all that." And they did the same thing with Nelica. They were like, "Oh, like a recent scrapbook of Nelica." Oftentimes, and many people like Mary came out on one that was a couple weeks ago. Oftentimes, it's actually just the person, and it's not that he's talking to one person, and it will help the rest of us because he wants to be fair to everyone, but it is a focus on just one. Now, can I say that I have not analyzed all 207 scrapbooks and etc.? Like, like one of them, he's like, nope. The answer was from nope, and he's like, nope, nope. I don't know. I don't know. I think that's some wordplay, but I know that there are a lot that people start to take off and anagram stuff and code and cipher it, and it's like, oh no, that person comes forward and says that's my name. So I think we also have to look at they're just talking to a person. I think that would be the most interesting. I think there's been a lot of controversy in the chase about does he talk to certain searchers. We know that he corresponds with certain searchers, but that he talks to them with hints. Does he? And when he does put out surprise words, is it for one person or a majority of people, like everyone equally? Like, do you think he gets an email from you, Mike, that says, what is the keyword? And let's say tomorrow magically he says, hey, I saw a cow, and the keyword the cow
Right.
said was
Right.
canyon.
And yeah, William might be right. He may have come out with that statement because of something somebody emailed him. Right. In other words, some of the scrapbooks could be directed at something that he's got in his email. I agree with that.
Yeah.
But since we all get to hear it, we're all going to try and figure it out. But um, so Doug says there's a palindrome in the poem. Is that true? Palindrome, everybody, is a word that's spelled the same forward and backward. And I'm looking because I never saw that before. If there is one. Or were you just screwing around and there isn't one? uh, I'm trying to think.
I,
See,
I.
well, yeah, I don't know if that's true. That's interesting though. If it is, no palindrome. Oh, he's just searching. I thought he was saying he found one, so he's saying he's
Oh,
looking for one. Okay, so it would make sense to me that the keyword might be in the first stanza. I mean, is it I? We figured out. What if the I isn't Forrest Fenn? What if the I is somebody else? But how
oh.
are we supposed to figure that out?
Simplify. No.
Right. And with my treasures bold, I can keep my secret where and hint of riches new and old. But for me, because brown is the only word that's capitalized, that could be the word we need to focus on. In other words, why did Forrest capitalize the B in brown? What do you think, April? What was the reason?
What the capitalization?
Yeah, why did he? That's the only capitalized word that's not at the beginning of a sentence. So why did he capitalize the B in
I
brown,
believe it
not
is
the M
some.
in meek, not the C in creek, not the B in blaze? Why did he only capitalize B in brown?
I believe it is something proper. You think it's an actual. I think it could be like for one of them. I started going down a rabbit hole of Judge Brown about some conservationalism that's up in the Yellowstone area. So it was the proper name Brown. I thought brown trout for a while, and actually you
Mm-hmm.
can put that into. I think there is a reason for it, but I don't think he was just messing with us. I think there's a reason for
No,
it.
there's a
I do
reason.
not
Yeah.
but I don't believe the semicolons and commas. I don't think punctuation is part of the clues or even hints. But actually, I take that back with the semicolon. But I do think that the capitalization of Brown could be a person, place, or thing.
Right.
The it's literally the actual English proper rules. It's
Right.
one a person, place, or thing, and it's proper. That's my opinion.
Hmm. And that's true. He did capitalize it, so we know it's a person, place, or thing. But person, place, or thing opens it up to pretty big. In our search area in the 4 states, that can be interpreted as a lot of things. There's a lot of people named Brown. There's a lot of places called Brown, and then a thing. But
Oh, a
because
bear is
it's
brown, a trout is brown, an elk is
but to me,
brown.
because he capitalized it, he's ruling out those. It's not elk. It's not brown trout. It wouldn't if it was just home of brown small b. Then wouldn't that be a bear or trout or a group of things? To me, I think he's trying to help us narrow down the search area by capitalizing it. So maybe it's named on a map, which is what I was originally thinking. But now that there might be three, it might be clue 3 instead of clue 2. And he said the little girl in India cannot get closer than clue 2. Maybe it's not a named location on a map because it's clue 3.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. Now I just don't know.
We're just scratching our head. So do you believe that all 9 clues are not a structure, Michael?
What do you mean? Not a, oh no, I do believe they are structures, all 9.
Man
Oh
made?
no, not a structure. I thought you meant location. No, they are not structures. Well, you can bring that up if you want to, but no, I don't
Oh
think
no, I'm
because
asking
he
you.
said where Warm Waters Halt is not doesn't have to do with the dam, and we know that the treasure chest is not associated with a man-made structure. So also okay. There was a quote also on Cynthia's blog where he said the clues were designed to last. I think he said centuries, or he said a very long time. The clues. So to me, that means the locations where the clues refer to are going to last a long time as well. He says the clues will probably last centuries, but the location of the treasure chest may change due to
Yeah.
geographic changes. I believe is the
Yep.
way he put it. I should
Something
probably
like that.
find that quote. But to me, that means the 9 clues are 9 actual places you go to. They may not all be named on a map, but they're all places.
And they're going to be named on some sort of map. The right map, I actually have a different premise, but the same conclusion.
Okay.
I believe that there are 9 places on a map. So, but again, who am I? I'm somebody without the treasure chest, just like each and every one of you.
Let me
So,
see if I can find the quote. Mm-mm-mm. Go ahead. Are there any questions in the chat?
yeah, somebody's asking, is it necessary to purchase the second book to be able to walk through and solve the poem? Too far to walk. In my opinion, I have all the books and all the versions of books, and I also am collecting all 9 of his books before. I think it was Lurker Mike that did a really good long. I will tell you, you need to commit probably 10 minutes at least to read through it, but talked about Forrest fighter pilots, the actual like model of fighter pilots, then went into, and I actually commented to it over on Harry's, and I said, this is much like Searchers when the husband comes in. I met with a lot of certain couples. The husband comes in, is really into the hunt, and the woman is just trying to, or the wife is trying to keep up. She's like eyes glazed over. When they got into the fighter pilots and the type of fighter pilot and the aviation saw, I was kind of rolling my eyes, but I was like, this is important because I know it was important to Forrest. And I do think it's important to understand Forrest before you can solve this poem. Now, exactly which fighter pilot, fighter jet he has, probably not, but to understand it, when you see a bunch of guys talking about um, cars and car models and which engines and which one and all of that, that's how we are when we then speak about all the different hints and this and that. So I say the same sort of thing, and I don't know. I don't think we need to know that piece. I actually think it is more about understanding Forrest's frame of mind than anything else. So,
And as I look through the quotes that are on Cynthia's blog, and there are a bunch of other places, he keeps saying, "Go back to the book. Go back to the book." There are hints in the book that help you with the clues, and I think that's what we need to focus on. Is we just start taking that book apart chapter by chapter. Let's just start listing the aberrations and what could possibly be a hint to the 9 clues. And I think
Yeah,
that's what a
well,
lot of
and
people
Mike
aren't
just
doing anymore. Huh?
Lurker Mike just spoke up and said his plane was very dangerous type and it could have been killed many times over. And that I think is the point, that he gave a lot of detail that a lot of people could understand. For me, it was exactly that. That showed this is not a man that has been easily like put in awe. He has had things happen to him that most of us never would have happened. He was exceptionally brave, yes, and he is not somebody that goes, "Oh, wow, that is phenomenal," unless it truly is. And if you've been in different spots of the world, that's the piece that you kind of take a step back and go, is that something that you really take to heart? And if you do, it has to be, and I'm going to use Toby's words, it has to be Fenny then, right? Because
Mm-hmm.
if it's not, it's just something that you or me, we've overcome some things in life, but we haven't done what Forrest has done with fighter pilot. I mean, I actually think, and posted this, I actually think it's a shout out. My war for me is a shout out to what's in the Library of Congress. What does he say? He says, put your memoir in the Library of Congress. Did you know that um, Forrest's memoir is not in the Library of Congress, but he does have one audio, and the audio is about his time in the war. So I think it's a shout out to that. Okay, we had
All
a super.
right, that's for you, Capro.
Okay, have you ever been given a nudge in the right direction that by F that you haven't shared publicly online? Um, I will tell you, I haven't shared any of the things that Fenn said publicly or privately to me. Others secretly have recorded that or secretly communicated that, but that wasn't something that, because here's the thing, and I think many people have done exactly what I'm saying. You meet with Forrest and he says something, and then you go, oh, I have the super secret hint. And then you, like the one reporter, rush up to Yellowstone or do this or do that. And then you realize about 2 days later, he didn't give me nothing. He was just so aware of his surroundings and what he was doing. It wasn't mischievous. It wasn't evil. There wasn't malintent. But he was like bantering. And you guys know that I banter with him. So it wasn't something like that. So I would say that he has said many things where he rolls his eyes or he does something, um, like like many of the things that have been said that I didn't take to heart a couple days later, and it's caused such huge controversy afterwards. I'm glad I didn't bring up. I'm glad I'm not the reason that it brought up, because I genuinely believe it is only distracting us, not helping us focus on that poem. So, like the 200-foot searcher, I was all fired up. You guys heard me. I was all fired up, like, oh, there's information and it's super secret. And I just don't think there's a there. And I think if I would, kind of like, if there would have been a there, I would have put it out to everyone. Like when he said, I got a polite like email from Christy, and she was a corporate person. And if you're walking too far, you're walking. If you're walking long distances, you're walking too far. Something like that. I put out the next day. I just told him I walked a mile. I actually thought that was real. Everything else since I've met him, and I didn't even meet him at the time. Everything else that is actually real, I just don't think there's enough there. And I think he's not going to get, he's just too smart. He is literally playing 15 steps ahead of all of us. It's more silly than anything else. That's why I didn't put out. It just would have caused controversy and distracted us and put us in the negative. And that's all it's done. And then that it was up and then deleted, and then people talk about it and people post it, but people are blah, blah, blah. It's just caused negative.
So Sturmworm says, Capro, do you share the tidbits after you realize they didn't help you? In other words, does Forrest told you something that you think's related to the treasure chest that you've never told anybody else? I think is what he really wants to know.
I don't I
Like
don't think
like
so.
dip your toe in it, or like, whatever.
Yeah, dip your toe in it. There's things that I will say I surmised from like conversations. Like for anybody that has sat in his den or gone to his vault, I think some people can say like his wartime was really important to him. Native American, I can tell you, I firmly believe after meeting him, it's nothing that he said. I firmly believe that it is that this solve is something related to Native American. If you look at that Library of Congress, he talks about being in the war and he reflects back on his
Say hi.
first arrowhead. So, I mean, I think that's more of the case than can I remember every single thing? No, like we did so much discussion because we were focusing on a really big fundraiser. We talked so many about other things, and we always had other searchers there. And I was telling Covert One was there, and he talked so much history, and I didn't even understand it. It felt like Chinese. But then Decall talked a lot about the belt and how important those were, and those were interesting. One time I went, he talked all about the American dolls, and we had a whole conversation about that and how it's illegal, that it's actual hair. So there was so many different things to talk about. I couldn't pick just one. It's like pick the right couple of subtle hints out of the book. I don't feel like we can. So
Well, and
um
that's the other thing. I'll just say, I think he talks to people about different things, and I think people twist it to relate to the treasure chest when it really doesn't. He's talking about a
yeah,
collection. He's talking about this, that, or the other thing, and people
yeah.
think, "Oh, is that a clue? Is that supposed to, And no, it's not, and but people think that way.
Yeah, KJ
So,
said, didn't you go to Forrest Fenn's house for the Jamie drawing? So the first time I met Forrest was last July. Um, he asked me if I would do the Jamie drawing. When I came in for the Jamie drawing, I will tell you, I met with him not once, not twice. It was about 10 times. Those that have fundraised for maybe $1,000 or $2,000, it's not just sticking up a link. You really have to do a lot of work. And Forrest wants to make sure things go off just right. So we stored a lot of the items in his vault. Where else do you store thousands of dollars of items?
right,
So Mike and I went many times, and every time he's such a gracious host. He didn't be like, drop that there, goodbye. We had
right,
conversations. And he asked us how we were doing, and I've been there with Covert, and I've been there with Decal, and I've been there with Jason, and I've been there with Cynthia, and I've been there. So there was just lots of different times that I checked in, and during that time, and I've been there a couple times since when I was actually searching down there. I'm not searching down there now. Um, so I haven't been there in a while. So, and
no,
he doesn't travel to me. This is shocking. He doesn't travel to North Carolina. It's shocking to me.
right. Now, for me, the video is freezing up again like it did earlier, so I hope nobody
Oh
else
boy.
has that issue. So I'm gonna have to research and find out what's going on because I don't know why it's doing it. Could be a OBS issue. But one thing he did say while we were there, and I've mentioned this before, is that he said, "My shadow is not cast by a fool," and I thought that was pretty cool. And what I
Yeah.
took it to mean is the poem is smart. The solution is something we're all going to go, "Oh, why didn't we think of that?" It's not going to be one of those head scratchers where we go, "What in the world was he
Oh,
talking
it's
about?"
freezing up.
Yeah, and I don't know why, everybody. So that's something we're going to have to work on. Yeah, I think everybody dropped off because it is freezing up. We got about 97 people. So he said the audio's fine, so we can keep talking. It's just the video.
Oh boy.
Choppy video. Yeah, I think that's OBS, and I got to see what is going on with OBS.
Well,
CPU.
we're already over tonight, so don't restart. Joel says the
Yeah.
audio is
No, we're
fine.
not going to restart. We're not going to restart.
Yeah. Keep going. Audio is good. Sound is fine. Okay, well, this is good to know.
So,
So I think in general, and this will go in general to everybody. I believe that if you think you've got a super secret hint, great. Then get the treasure chest in hand. That will confirm it. I did talk to someone today that was saying, what happens if you or Cynthia or Dale or Sasha or Jason or Mike and Sean, a bunch of people that have been to his house and been a part of his life, what if they find it? Won't it be a absolutely? I think it'll be a controversy, but will that mean that they got a super secret hint? In my opinion, no. But everybody has to interpret that on their own. If I got a super secret hint, I wish I was smart enough to figure it out because
right.
the 200 footer being out once, I don't know how, or like someone that they kind of knew, I don't know how that has helped me because I'm sure, dadgummit, I don't have it. So
And I'll just say the one quote that I was thinking of was, "Did the same 9 clues exist when you were a kid? And to your estimation, will they still exist in 100 years and 1,000 years?" And Forrest says the clues did not exist when I was a kid. Of course not, because he wrote the poem when he was a kid. He wrote it when he was an adult. But most of the places the clues refer to did. So they are places out there in the Rocky Mountains. I think they might still exist in 100 years. but the geography probably will change before we reach the next millennia. So these are geographic locations, everybody. He says most of the places the clues refer to did. So that right there
Yeah.
proves these are places where Warm Waters Halt is a place that we have to go to, or at least find on a map.
Okay.
The Home of Brown is a place that we go to. The Blaze is an object that we have to find out there
You know
in
what would
the
be
wild.
interesting? And Mike, I think I've mentioned this to you once. You have done so many videos from years back that people are now starting to talk about again because they're so logical. I talked with a reporter today and they said, I've been watching Mike's old school blogs and they're so logical and they're things that people are they're missing now because we talked about so much stuff over the years. Do we need to churn back and
I
look?
think so.
Yeah,
I
I
think
think
me and
that
you should start going to the book and start looking for hints and just go chapter one, chapter two. I know we're not actually going to read the entire chapter, but I think you should read chapter one. I should read chapter one. And when we're live, we discuss what we think possible hints are or
well,
possible
and
clues.
someone laughed at us and said, "Are you guys sure that you are at the same search location?" I will tell you that Mike does not have a complete solve. I
Yeah,
think we agree of a general location,
general area.
and Mike has different reasons for making that location than I do. And we are now in the process of taking a general large location and refining it down. And so I do think that would be interesting. So,
And Mike Nodine pretty much puts it out there. He says if someone does not trust Forrest Fenn, then they should not search for his chest. It's just that simple, and it
yeah,
is.
but that's interesting because we've done our own hunts. Do we care at all? And okay, in a perfect world, we know that there's a salt of the earth person that's going to donate it to a charity that we love for children, St. Jude's, and that's who we want to find it. Sure, but if someone that doesn't like us, that is not particularly nice to us, if they find it, I'm okay with that because it's been genuine. They've done the work, and that's okay. I know there's a couple, and this parallels perfectly to Forrest. I think if Forrest were to say, "Who do I want to," and I'm speaking for him, and I don't know, I've never had this discussion, but if he were to say, "Who do I want to solve it?" He wants a redneck with 12 kids that really needs it and is somebody that's a good person. If one of the people that hate him, that are after him, that are trying to take him down and his family down, etc., if they find it, I think he would say, "You've earned it then. You've done it." Like if they didn't do it by like kidnapping his granddaughter or something crazy like that, I think he would say, "Right or wrong, you earned it." So I agree with Mike because it gets wearing on all of us to hear just the spewing of hate at the same time as you hear, "Oh, but here's a clue and I'm looking for it." I think that's ridiculous. But those people, if they do the work and they find it, I think they've earned it. I just wish they didn't spew the hate part because there's just less time in life to do something like that. But I will not get on that soapbox tonight.
Well, and then some people think only certain types of people are allowed to find it, like a redneck with a pickup truck. But I don't think that's
Right.
true. Forrest has said, "Hey, if you put the clues together and you find it, you can keep it." So it's fair game for anybody. Anybody can
Right.
go find it.
Right. Well, I've gotten an email or two of some people now know my job and know that I'm not a redneck with 12 kids that may be living paycheck to paycheck. You should not be in the hunt. You should get yourself out. Forrest is not who the person that you said that he said should be solving it.
Yeah,
If you make a decent income, get the hell out of the chase. And they said nasty curse words. And I don't think that's what he said. He didn't rule me out just because I
right.
happen to be able to pay my bills and I keep a balance in this chase. I actually think he's saying, now, wouldn't it be great though to have somebody that, God, barely is making ends meet and they still donate to their church, to charities, and they're doing great things? Sure. But if somebody that actually can pay their bills and have support their household actually makes it, like I'm single mom, I think I am as worthy as anyone else as long as you're a good person. But I've gotten the nasty emails of, "You should be out of this chase now. He's ruled you out." No, he hasn't. Forrest has not ruled me out of this chase. So, neener, neener,
um,
Billy goat.
well,
Neener, neener.
Tom Sawyer says, "Do you think Fenn is? It's Forrest, by the way. Do you think Forrest is done giving out clues forever? I hope not. I hope Forrest is waiting for the right time to give us
No,
something. Like his
no way.
the word that is key comment was pretty awesome. The 200-foot searcher. These are the things we live for. These are the things we want to hear. So I hope, and you may not consider it a clue, but I hope he will give us something else when the time is right.
Okay, I'm going to put something groundbreaking out. I think if the chest is still out there, on Feb 4. He's putting a Feb 4 update out there, and it's going to make us run in circles like it always does. It might just say, I woke up this morning and sneezed, and I sneezed 6 times, and those are my 6 questions. But I think Jenny's going to have 6 questions. I think he's going to give them to Jenny. I don't know if you saw Jenny's hunts are going to actually have something from Forrest Vault attached to them now. She just,
Yeah, I didn't see that, so that's pretty cool. Yeah.
I think he's actually coming back out now that we're trying to be a little bit more
so
focused
so
on the
people are saying February 4. Do you know how long away that is? So for people that don't understand, what is February 4? There might be some new people listening.
So Feb 4, he does an annual update every year with Jenny Kyle, who he puts words out with. Jenny will ask him 6 questions. I actually think she asks more and he selects them. I don't know that. And then he answers them. And we all are dying because it's the dead of the season and he gives us these words and we all feel like, I think that's where he said he has a gut feeling it's going to be found this year. And oh my gosh, people went, they actually spun in circles. Their head went around 6 or 7 different times. Everybody's so excited when he puts out his Feb 4 words or annual update or whatever that is. And so that's exactly what I think that will happen this next year. Now, whether it's, I will just say Feb 4 will definitely come out, but what are the other things that could come out? I think there could be some things earlier than that.
Yeah, I hope so. Yeah.
Here's what I believe. I believe that there's going to be some major press, hypothetically speaking, of course, that's going to put some quotes out there that are going to spin us in circles. What do you think, Mike?
I hope so. And if for whatever reason that press that doesn't happen, then I think Forrest should put it out himself. But that's just me. Can we get back to Brown? Cowlazars, I want to chat with you on this. Yeah, we can get back to Brown. But first, Tom Sawyer said he was done with that. He's stepping away from the chase. He did. But guess what? Forrest can change his mind at any time.
No. He said, I think he was pretty clear. Okay, he said at the Lure, which was like 3 years ago, I'm done and I
Right. He's just taking a
What
break.
What he said last year was, I'm stepping back from social events and the number of emails I respond to. And I'm paraphrasing. He didn't say he's done with everything forevermore. Look at the Esquire magazine where he has a shovel in the corner. He's a rascal. He's a rascal. And this is his legacy. Let him have fun with it. And even let us have fun with it. Those of you that don't want any more hints, let us pretend that they are hints. Whether he wears a purple shirt and we all say purple means something, let us have it.
So Stormworm says, sounds like you guys know what the press would be putting out. No, we don't know anything until it comes out of Forrest. We may hear rumors like everybody does, but that's about it.
Yeah.
So.
Well, and I talked to different reporters, and different reporters, they are definitely trying to get words from Forrest because that changes the amount of people that are going to be listening to them. But no, I have not heard anything specific with quotes. I've heard that he does give, there was a quote on Facebook just a few days ago that said, or it was an email of Forrest that said, this person is doing an interview. Do you want to be a part of it? And that person put it up there and everybody's like, oh my gosh, that means something's coming out.
Right.
I don't know how much it is. I don't know what it is. I don't know who the outlet is, but it looks like he's been kicking with the media. So it doesn't look like he's turning them away.
Right. Well, Worm, you said sorry for pressing, just trying to sift out some tangible leads. Define tangible. All this is opinion. All this
leads
is
for what? Like super
clues or hints or something that helps. Yeah. Well, you got to remember, all the YouTube videos are just, if it doesn't come out of Forrest's mouth, it's just innuendo and opinion. So, so it depends what you mean by tangible. To me, the only thing that's tangible is what Forrest says.
Yeah,
now, we can talk about it and maybe one of us will strike the right idea, but go ahead.
But do you remember like a year ago when Toby and Shelley were like, what if we threw out the poem and tried to analyze all the other things that are happening in the chase and to see if we could figure it out? And I think that struck a chord with some people like, that's crazy. Maybe that's what he's trying to do or she is trying to do and say, maybe there's a different way. Maybe you can, and some people think this is cheating. Maybe there's different ways. Like if you get all the press B-roll footage, if you get all of the other information and put it together, you could solve this in a different way. Maybe that's the way to do it. I don't know.
It could be.
Rebecca said, I am worthy. She will give me I'm assuming it's just she will give me my solve. Yes, I will take worthy solves that I will run and go and get it then. I just don't, my opinion, is it going to be solved this season, Michael? What do you think?
I have not heard anything that makes me think it will any more than any other search season. So no. A lot of people are
Yeah.
like, but that scrapbook or this or that. People have
Yes.
been saying that for 6 years. So I don't see anything. He said
Yeah.
maybe people have solved the first 4 clues. He's not sure. He said several people have solved the first 2 clues, but he didn't think they realized it because they walked right past the other 7. So to me, that doesn't mean anybody's close.
Yeah. And
Is
I
it
don't. I don't.
possible? Sure, but I don't think so.
Well, at the beginning of the season, it was there were several, especially tubers, saying if it's not found this year, couldn't believe it. I don't think it's going to be found this year. My personal opinion. I don't think we've solved it. I think we're all still missing something. I think it's no, and I think it. Last year, I heard people, and no, I don't think it's going to be this year personally. But again, you don't know. I just think it's more of a long haul than a short haul. So do we want to talk about what happened on AGK last night?
I did not see it. So what happened? I didn't see the AGK
Okay, I
video.
didn't see the whole thing, but some people sent me some here, check this out at this minute and that kind of thing. And
Right.
I will say that is where Toby, I think, got fired up and was ready to go. It's this whole notion, much like back in Indiana Jones when he put the staff up with the thing and the sun goes through it, and only during a certain day and a
Oh, that's
certain
Raiders of the
time.
Lost Ark style right
Raiders of the
there.
Lost
Yeah,
Ark.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
The sun at
So
a certain time of the year casts a shadow in the exact same spot. As long as
right.
that object or thing you're using to create the shadow can't move, then that is correct. That would be interesting. In other words, the blaze is the sun, and it marks out where the chest is. But how do you know what day? I mean, that's a good idea, but how do you know what day you're supposed to check?
Maybe the postmarks. Maybe there's certain things in the book. Maybe we need to crack that book out. Maybe that's it.
Okay, so as we read through the book, and I'm serious, I want to do that, go chapter by chapter. Let's keep an eye out for stuff like that. How many times is the word sun mentioned in the book, or sunlight, or shadow? That would be interesting. I mean, how many times when he says clues are sprinkled throughout the book, how many times does he mention water or rain? Those could be placeholders for hints that are in the book. There's a lot of different ideas. That would be awesome if it was, but I don't think it is because he says it's straightforward. Um, but yeah, that's like Raiders of the Lost Ark. That is pretty cool,
Yeah.
actually.
Yeah. So I thought it was, and William has said the postmark dates are not accurate, and I think that is what a lot of people have noticed. So what if they're not accurate? Is that intentional? And if it's intentional, what does it mean?
Oh, Wayne says he was the one who revealed the New Mexico 354 arch that is in
I
the
didn't want to
Toltec
call him
Gorge
out,
to Toby.
but
Nice, Wayne. Okay.
yeah, it was
That was
Wayne
him on the
Ross.
phone because the video was on. I just didn't really get a chance to sit down and really watch it, so
I
I
didn't
heard
either.
parts of it. Oh,
And you
that's
know
cool.
what? I want to say, like, right when AGK goes on, people start private messaging me just like they do right now, and my private messages are blowing up. No, not when we're live or not when AGK is on. Any of the others, I can,
Uh,
like, but it's really hard to keep up. I knew someone called in, but I got so distracted, and then I said, I'll be right back, and then I never went back. So,
Velvet Hippo says, "When is the next marathon?" I don't know. We haven't actually thought of that. Although, yeah, in a month could be interesting, huh? Over the next month could be interesting. So maybe we'll do one. We'll see.
we have
Yeah.
super
We
secret
will
society.
let you guys know when I get this video issue solved. So this is more like a podcast right now. I should just put up a still picture.
Is the video still off for you
It's
guys?
still off for me, so I don't know if it's off for everybody because otherwise I'd put up a
It's
picture.
off for me. My
Yes.
screen is frozen, but I'm trying
Yeah,
to
I don't know.
reset.
It's got to be OBS. Well, I don't
Well,
know. I
you
don't
know
know what's
what?
going on.
I think it truly is. We finally got Forrest, and he's sitting right here, and we just can't hear him, but we can see him. Maybe that's the issue.
Yeah, right. Right.
Okay.
So Stemworm says F told me he was an avid Indiana Jones fan. Well, that's pretty cool. Who isn't an Indiana Jones fan? So that's pretty cool.
Yeah. He said he believes the treasure could be recovered in any weather, although doesn't he go against the sunlight theory? No.
Yeah.
3D bronze. Toby brought this up. There is actually, because I've used it, there is a software that says if you are on this exact GPS location on this exact date, where would 1 year ago, where would it have thrown its shadow? So there is actually technology now that you can find that actually throws a shadow. So it doesn't matter when throughout the entire year you go or not. So there you have it. So Sassy says K Pro's good, but I was off and on. Well, that's for Fenn. He's making sure that my stuff is okay because he wants me talking to you. Hi, Forrest. I'm just kidding.
So here's what I did. I put up your picture, K-Pro, because the video is off. But Joel just said, do you want to Zoom? So let's have Joel on. The people won't be able to see us, but we can talk.
Joel,
If you have time, K-Pro. Do you have time to do another 30 minutes or so?
Absolutely.
All right. Here it comes, Joel.
I have half-day Fridays. And, I've got to get Forrest on the horn right now. No, I'm just kidding.
What? All right, hang on.
No, because remember what we did during the...
I do not. What are we talking about?
Remember during the marathon?
Hang on, everybody.
Like, oh my gosh, my phone is blowing up. They're like, Joel.
Hang on, everybody. I got to do this the right way or I'm going to screw everything up. Hang on.
Audio is good. Video is not so good. Okay, so everyone, bring up a picture of Forrest Fenn or the treasure chest. Bring up a picture of the treasure chest.
Oh, not that. All right. We can put a picture of the... All right, hang on. A picture of the poem.
Yeah, Mike, you like a picture of me? Not everyone does.
Ah, nice. There's other pictures I can show. All right. Yeah, all right. All right, Craig, so since you sent me the picture, I'm assuming we can show it. Wait. Why is that not working? Maybe I can't show it. All right, hang on. Yeah, I can't get it to work right now. But anyway, I sent you the invite, Joel, if you want to come on. Let me find another picture, everybody. We'll put up a picture. Actually, a picture of the treasure chest would be cool. Can we just do that? Because that's what everybody's looking for, right?
Ooh, how about the super secret one? You want to put up the picture that we were looking at yesterday?
What picture? What picture? I'm not sure.
Our project.
Or am I sure? And I just don't want to say. There he is. Uh-oh, somebody's at work.
Hey.
How's it going, Joel?
Great.
Joel has something to say.
Are we live?
We are live. We have an audio issue or video issues, but we are live. So.
All right.
So let me do.
I'm trying to go closer to my router just in case it's bad on my end. You know.
Gotcha. And I'm trying to do something as well. Show in folder.
Okay, what say you, Joel Lewicki, the
How's that, everybody?
person that knows all things and is, I think...
Oh, please.
Nah. So Brown, what do you want to talk about, Brown, the home of Brown? You got a new theory?
Okay. So here's my thing, because you were mentioning that Brown is capitalized, right?
Right.
And Christie's thing is that it's a word... And that is a play on words. That was intentional. That it is a word that's being overlooked, right? Mm-hmm. So in other words, I'm taking Christy to mean that people are focusing on the wrong word. Is that what you think, Christy? You're nodding your head.
Yes.
Okay. So what I've been thinking about it recently is that it's not that you're not focusing on the right word. You're not in tight focus with the word that is key, meaning that you're seeing the word, you're just not correctly understanding it.
Interpretation, like I was...
Right.
Okay. You don't
so
see
in other
words...
Well, so let me ask you a question to see if I'm interpreting what you're saying. Do you think the word that we are not in tight focus of could be Blaze, Brown, Meek, Warm Waters? I have ruled those out because I believe it is not a common, just like the 200-footer, there's only a couple of them. I don't believe it can be Ohoka or the Madison Junction because too many people have used that. In the same way, if he's saying we're not tight focused with the word that is key, I think that means it's rare the person that has focused on it. It's not something that is discussed very regularly, and we have exhausted Blaze, we've exhausted WWWH, we've exhausted those sorts of words, Home of Brown. So which way are you interpreting that, or am I interpreting?
Well, I certainly don't think that we've exhausted those things.
Oh my!
Because I don't think that people really have it right.
Right.
Now, and you just said it can't be Madison Junction because too many people have that. Well, why do you say that?
Because there's only been a couple that were within 200 feet, and then they walk by the others, and you know how many hundreds of thousands of searchers. So I
can see that.
My first call.
But Christy,
yes,
he said he couldn't even say how many people had correctly identified the first clue.
But you know how many people have sent him Ojo Caliente. But so here's the thing. He asked me, where was your first Saul when I met him finally? Mm-hmm. And I said, Ojo Caliente. And he said, oh, you and about 100,000 other people. And he rolled his eyes.
Which one was he talking about?
Up north. The Ojo
Are you
Caliente
sure?
that we just, yes, because I told him the details. Like I actually bathed in it. It was the same spot. We had a whole little moment. He should have been there. It was very sweet.
You and Forrest were in Ojo Caliente together. You heard it here, folks.
My God. My God. Yeah, secret audio is coming later. No, like I could tell you that. So I felt like when he said that, oh, you and 100,000 other people, that was enough for me to say, okay, not the right one, because there has been 100,000 people there. Now, I am not saying though people that are in a unique spot up in that area are not in the right spot, but I believe for me, WWWH can't be Madison Junction now, and I've had it as one of my main solves for way too long.
Well, somebody just said Madison Junction can't be WWWH because the water isn't warm. Now, it's warm in certain spots where the hot springs feed into it, but then other spots are cold, so yeah. Or do warm waters halt in the Madison because all the hot springs feed into it? And that's the Madison is where WWWH. It is where warm waters halt because it's cold after all the hot springs dump into
warm.
it.
Well, but
no, it's where warm waters halt. We're looking for cold water, not warm water.
Dip your toe in it. But everybody's heard it.
Right. So you dip your toe in it and say, yeah, that's warm. But look, over there, it's cold. It's where warm waters halted.
Okay.
So
yeah,
the entire Madison River could technically be where warm waters halt.
Hundreds of thousands of people have been. I just don't think it's a spot that hundreds of
What do you think, Joel? What do you think of the entire Madison as being where warm waters halts? Possible or not possible?
I think that, and I've said this before, that maybe, certainly more than several people have correctly identified the first clue,
right?
And that the first clue is more than just a location like Ojo Caliente, because you begin it where warm waters halt and take it in the canyon down, not far, but too far to walk. So maybe very few people have actually figured out exactly where it's at.
So do you believe you have a WWWH and a canyon, and then you have to get back in your car and go somewhere else? Mike thinks that. Or there's some other mode of
Forrest has said you don't even have to necessarily go to those first couple physically.
What?
Right. I don't think you have to. As long as you know they're right, go to the home of Brown. That's where we're driving to. Is the home of Brown.
Give us a quote. Give us a quote.
He said, okay, do you have to actually go to the first couple of clues, right? Someone had asked him something along those lines, or do you have to follow all of the clues? And he said at least, what did he say?
What's the quote? I'm trying to remember as well.
Something about you don't have to walk all of them.
Or... Somebody said, if I find where home of Brown, can I backward engineer where warm waters halt? And he said, sure, but why would you want to? In other words, why would you go backwards? That's not it.
This is the different one. I'll think of it, Chrissy, and I'll get you the actual quote. Okay, I'll do your research for you.
Thank you.
Janet in the room. Janet, that's a shout out.
I think both of us.
Janet Landgard. So it's interesting. I mean, I just thought of this. Yeah, it's kind of interesting. We were talking about this.
Joel is incorrect in the chat room. Oh, they're questioning you. Don't do it for me. Do it for the other.
We were talking about this at the function, where warm waters, plural. Can the warm waters be the hot springs that are in Yellowstone? In other words, waters, plural, means all the warm waters, which is all the hot springs, and they empty into the Madison River. And that's why that's where warm waters halt, because the Madison is still cold. All that hot water gets dumped into it, but it's still cold in certain spots. Is that a possibility? And then the Madison is the canyon. In other words, when I look at the Madison River, would that be considered a canyon and I take it down?
Sledneck says no. I think it is. The locals
that's a good question.
The locals don't consider that a canyon. I do when I look at it on Google Earth. I think that's a canyon.
Right.
And how do you define canyon? Yeah, I mean,
until you get closer to west, then it opens up, and it's not a canyon there.
It's more of a what, like a lake, or?
It's like a flat. I mean, there's not.
Okay.
Yeah, well, someone said the
Yeah.
canyon has to have both sides. What if it only has one side? Is that an actual canyon? I don't know. I mean, all
So
mine had a canyon, so I've been
So
following.
Sassy's trying to say that the only reason Forrest asked, "Can you dip your toe in it?" is he was trying to tell you it's physical water. In other words, it's not an interpretation of something
Yeah,
else. It is
I
a
agree with
water
that.
Physical
source,
water and warm.
right?
Warm.
And
Water.
there's a lot of places that are warm on the Madison, but it's where warm waters halt, which would, yeah, I don't know. And it
But
doesn't have
there's
to
a
be the
difference
Madison. It could
between
be a different
everywhere
river. It could be a
in Madison
different
and
river.
Madison Junction. I won't ask the chat room because they'll probably not confirm this for me. But how many people have had Madison Junction as their WWWH? Like I think half of us maybe have. And if half of us have, does that mean we're looking at the wrong thing? We're not in tight focus with the word that is key. That would take us somewhere different, which is in stanza 1. So we need to
Well,
stop looking
maybe
at
the
the
word that is
Madison
key is
Junction.
waters, plural, meaning many waters that are warm, not just
Yeah.
one. Well, what did Forrest say? There's 1,000 places where warm waters halt north of Santa Fe. Look at the big picture. Wouldn't the Madison be a big picture? And somebody just said there's a Madison Canyon. I don't know where that is. I don't know if that's the Madison River is called the Madison Canyon or it's somewhere else, but it's just kind of interesting. It's an interesting thought. A lot of people have picked different hot springs like Oho and said that's where warm waters halt. But it's waters is plural. Where do like all the warm waters halt?
Oh,
If
because the
you're
water.
in Yellowstone, I mean, are there geysers in Yellowstone that don't go into the Madison River? I don't know. That's a good question.
Many, many, many. We went to some of them, Michael.
I remember a river by everyone. You could see the water going into the river. No, there's some that
Not
are
all
just,
the same river. We were only literally on the
yeah.
west
We only
side.
went to like two
We didn't go to
places.
the east
Yeah,
side
yeah,
or
yeah.
the south side or anything.
Yeah, I guess
Okay.
just briefly to answer your question, Mike. Yeah, there's a lot of thermal features in Yellowstone that do
Okay.
not relate to the Madison.
And there's a lot of thermal features outside of Yellowstone in the state, right? They're not all within Yellowstone National Park, are they?
Yeah, yeah.
So yeah, that makes it.
Yeah.
He said, "Look at the big picture. It's like where do all the warm waters halt?"
But
Yeah.
in Flywater, in the chapter Flywater, Forrest refers to the places where he fished as waters. So, he
Right.
and in that chapter, he's referring to, well, I would say the first time he wrote it for the paper, he mentions it being the fire hole, but then in the book, he removes that mention and talks about writing a note to his wife Peggy while he sat by the Madison.
Now, why do you think he did that? So if you, so for the,
I don't know. Email Forrest and ask him.
You email Forrest, you get more responses, and I'll answer you. You can email me. I'll pretend I'm Forrest, and I'll answer you. But,
all right.
but for those of you that don't know, if you missed what we just said, so that actual story was in, I think it's the Bozeman newspaper.
Bozeman Chronicle.
Yeah, I think it was in the 80s. And when it was written originally, it was written as the Madison Junction. And he took that out.
The fire hole.
Fire hole. Oh, and I did that when I sent him. I was at Ojo Caliente in Madison. He's like, fire hole. Anyway, same thing. I kind of get it right. 85% of the time I get it right.
That's all you can expect.
But he actually named the location in the Bozeman newspaper article. He took it out for TTOTC. Why did he do that? And he knew we would figure it out because we are smart researching treasure hunters.
I think because he was busy doing lots of things to make it harder to figure out.
Or he just didn't want everybody on. I don't know.
Yeah, even this picture looks blurry on mine. So something's going on with OBS. But Copper Dan says on his Yellowstone map, it clearly says Madison Canyon. So I guess you could say, is Yellowstone the right area for where warm water halts? And that would be from a hint in the Thrill of the Chase. If Yellowstone is the right area inside the park, where do the warm waters of Yellowstone halt? But there's different rivers in Yellowstone. It's not just the Madison, right? So...
Yeah, many people have different. So my first boots on the ground, which was to Ojo Caliente, I said to several searchers, I just crashed. Does anybody need me to go and look at their search location? And oh my God, I had like 50 people. So I went to probably 10 different features for them. It was amazing, all the different WWWHs, and people just wanted me to snap different pictures and see what came up. It was amazing that there was a lot of different interpretations. So to say that Yellowstone's only WWWH is Madison Junction,
right?
no,
That wouldn't be correct.
Yeah, they have them everywhere.
So I don't understand how you just pick one hot spring though. Why Ojo or this one or Old Faithful or?
word that's key, and you have to look in the.
And we need to figure that what that is, I guess.
Joel will tell us. What is that, Joel?
Well, I'm with Mike. I think that brown might be the key. It certainly is different than all the other words in the poem because it's capitalized and it's not at the start of a sentence. It's the only one. Okay. And he said when the reporter asked him, the home put in, she says, put in below the house of Brown. Who's Brown? Well, if I told you that, you'd go right straight to the treasure.
Right.
Well, that sounds like it's pretty key to me. And being
right.
with that word seems pretty doggone important.
What if we find the home of Brown and the treasure chest is within 100 feet of the home of Brown? I mean, could it be that simple that WWH, Canyon Down, home of Brown are the really hard parts? And then when you get in the right correct location, the rest of the 6 clues, they're kind of right there in that area. I mean, is that possible? No place for the meek, no paddle up your creek. Look for the blaze. What if the blaze is like within 100 feet? And he says people have been within 200 feet of the treasure. Well, a person has been within 200 feet because he knows because they sent him a picture. Maybe that picture was of the home of Brown. They didn't know it, but that's how he knows, oh, you were within 200 feet because the blaze and the treasure chest are within 200 feet of the home of Brown. I guess that's possible with things that he said, right?
It's possible.
It's possible, yeah. So Sturm says where the fire hole halts is WWWH. The fire hole halts at the Madison, correct? Isn't that Madison Junction? So I know a lot of people have thought that. But K-Pro's point is because everybody in the world has thought that, Dale's put it on the blog, that's not it, because only a few searchers have,
I've talked to at least probably 20 to 30 searchers. That's their WWH. If they've sent that to me, my God, Forrest must have gotten hundreds. Like not just one person sending that. Like everybody and their brother has sent it. Like I just sent. We called it Girls Gone Wild. You guys saw it. We sent like all of us in NoHo going, we found it. I just don't think it can be that something that is that obvious to everybody.
Let me ask this, K-Pro. Before 2013, when Forrest republished River Bathing is Best, how many searchers do you think had correctly identified Ojo Caliente?
That's a great question. I have to ask Cynthia.
So before Forrest came out and said, here's a video of my spot, how many people do you think had put together that Ojo Caliente may have been important to Forrest?
Well, okay.
Probably not many, right?
I'm going to give you my educated guess. I think many had. And when he made the comment of 12 foot, well, I believe that's where Stephanie was. That's where Dale was. Those people, and that was the time that he said, when Stephanie asked who's the closest, and he said, oh, she'll pass out if I tell her. And I don't know if the 12-foot comment was made at that time. There were, from what I understand, and I wasn't there was a group of them, and they were all searching with Madison Junction. Now, they went different once they hit Madison Junction. Some went up west,
and down, yeah.
Gypsy
some go this way, some go this way.
Right, that way. Like they all went different directions, but they all started at Madison. From what I understand, a lot of the what we call famous searchers, celebrity searchers.
Madison is not very close to Ojo Caliente.
Right. Well, Mike knows. Mike, you've now been there.
It dumps. Right? I thought it dumps into the Madison River. Am I wrong?
Because I've been thinking about Ojo Caliente because of all of the press it's been getting. It's a Spanish name.
Right.
Forrest had a teacher that spoke Spanish all the time to try to teach him Spanish. It has, it's like one of the only Spanish names in Yellowstone.
Is that right? I never thought of that.
How did it even get its name? Does anybody know? I'll throw that out to the room. Janet Landgard, do some research for me. How did Ojo Caliente get its name?
I'm going to look it up right now.
I've looked. Don't waste your time. I can't find anything on it.
Oh, you can't find where it was named? What?
If you remember, do you remember when we entered the park and Covert said, this is where we didn't get out, but this is right where the Madison Junction is? Mm-hmm. And then do you remember where Ojo Caliente was after we did the
It was a ways. Yeah, a ways up.
It was a ways. That's what Joel's point is even if you have Madison Junction, there's a ton, there's miles between every which way to go. And do you remember when we went out to, okay, I'm giving away too much. Do you remember when we went out to Hepton? Some people have Madison Junction as their WWWH, but when we went out to Hebden and we went the other way, that was
Yeah.
pretty significant. If you remember that, that's how far some people's solves are between WWWH
Right.
and their final spot.
Yeah, I got you. We're all missing something. I mean,
Yeah. Joel's
So
not.
the
He's
reason I
not.
wanted to come on was to talk about Brown.
Right.
okay.
Okay. And here's what I wanted to talk about. Because Brown's capitalized.
Mm-hmm.
And in the book, on page 46, when he talks about his one-room cabin in paradise, and then he goes into the Totem Cafe Caper, it's all about West Yellowstone. But in the chapter, he gets a job washing dishes at the Totem Cafe. This is one instance where a kind old woman covers up his pie eating. Okay, so one day, this is on page, if anyone wants to know, this is on page 48. Forrest says, one day Grandma, which it's a different name than it is when he published this in the paper. He says, one day Grandma took me in the frozen meat locker and said that when the owner gave Frosty, the manager, an inch, he thought he'd become a ruler, lowercase r, okay?
Mm-hmm.
Frosty, I mean. And then a couple lines later, the ruler, capital R, thought both excuses were pretty lame. Okay? So he's using the word ruler there two different ways. The first time, the grandma said, she's making a joke and says, well, when the owner gave him an inch, he thought he became a ruler. Then later, Forrest calls him the ruler and capitalizes it.
Right.
He personifies that individual by giving him that nickname. Now, that nickname is worthy of capitalization. So we've got...
I think it's like a mirror.
We have an example here. We have an example of Forrest showing us how he's using capitalization as an author. And then in the poem, we have an example of a randomly capitalized word that could be a surname, but it could also be a nickname, right? Could be.
But could it be both, like you just said? At the
It
same
could be
time,
both.
that whole mirrors thing.
Could be both.
Well,
What I'm saying is
one,
that we
Joel.
have an
Come
example.
on.
We have an example of
Okay.
Forrest using capitalization in the book that may be helpful for solving why Brown is capitalized. And truly understanding why it's capitalized and who it's referencing could mean that there's only a few people who figure that out correctly, who are in tight focus with the word Brown.
What if that whole ruler thing is a scale, is what William said? What if it's a scale?
Sure.
Well, and then the color brown has got a scale. There's so many variations of brown, but I do believe the tight focus means the correct interpretation.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so only are in tight focus with the correct way you're supposed to realize what that word means. I agree
Well,
with
and it was a
that.
while back, but Drawing Nigh said something that I thought was important. Forrest has said he was only to his place a couple of times. So
No, that's true.
He hadn't. Please be careful with his quotes. He
Okay.
said, it's a place I have been a few times in the Expedition Unknown video. He didn't say he'd only been there a few times. He says he's been there. He had been there a few times.
But if he's river bathing, hasn't he been there more than a few times? I guess we don't know that, do we?
Well,
And-
okay. So this is me being a lawyer, right?
Yeah.
There's a difference between me saying, yes, I've done that a few times, and I've only done that a few times. One is inclusive and one is exclusive.
So 3D Bronze says, Joe Lewicki, why do you think Mr. Fenn avoids calling Ojo Caliente by name in river bathing is best?
See, and that's another question that I have. When did it become known that that bathing spot was actually Ojo Caliente? When in the search did that become, we all take it for granted, but at some point, nobody knew that.
Right.
And I don't know when that occurred. I don't know when that happened. But I think there's lots of places like that he doesn't, name specifically or come right out with.
Oh, this is interesting. You shop, we ship says put in and below have the same meaning in the dictionary. These two words don't make sense in the poem and do not go together. Why would Forrest use two words next to each other that have the same meaning? Put in and below. Now, I have heard that put in means to study or devote time to. Put in below. Well, I think it could mean put in or study below the home of Brown. So you need to look around or you need to investigate below the home of Brown. And then some people, of course,
I
say
agree.
put in is the nautical term where you're actually getting in water. But I also think if you're driving, put in can mean park. That parking lot, put in that parking lot. Put in below the home of Brown. If there's a parking lot below the home of Brown, I'm going to think, well, park there. That's what put in means, is to stop and
Yeah.
park. Yeah. That's interesting, though, with Brown. Could Brown be the word that is key? And we're all looking at it the wrong way for some reason. K-Pro thinks no, huh?
No, I think it's like as I, and it's Isa Lake, or like was spelled backwards. Or I think it's just something that seems so benign and not there. And I might be totally wrong. Gosh, I am most of the time. My goodness. But I just think it's something that we're all overlooking. And he says, don't overlook, especially my nouns, but or something like that. I just think it's something that we think is like it's an and or a something that is like, and that we're all overlooking it. But again, I might be wrong because Joel is looking at me like I am a 7%, and I might be.
I'll go one better. I think you're like a 3%er, Christy.
Oh.
Well, on the good side, not on the. It's a totally different scale on the ruler. So you have Forrest saying right before the poem that if you follow the clues precisely, it'll lead to the end of his rainbow and the treasure
The
chest.
colors of the
Right?
rainbow.
You got the colors of the rainbow.
Yeah, that's true.
And it's a type of trout.
Roy G. Biv.
And
Anybody?
you got him saying brown, which is also a type of trout. Is there a connection there?
Wait, now I'm gonna channel my Wayne Ross. What if the rainbow means that there has to be the sun at a certain angle to be able to see it, and it's the Raiders of the Lost Ark, or what's the other one? What's the one that does that? That it's like the angle and it comes down and it's only one time a year. Did you watch AGK last night?
I don't know how it's going to be found if that's the case.
Oh, it could be 1,000 years. Somebody's going to finally figure it out, like Indiana Jones did.
I don't have the height burned into my hand.
Exactly. None of us do.
Was it the staff of Ra? I think in Indiana Jones.
Yeah.
I don't know. Part of me thought simplify, but then part of me thought that's pretty simple. It's just so random. And he didn't rule out that. He didn't say like no ciphers, sundials. I mean, he didn't use that word. So I don't want to rule it out. I just thought, for as much as we laugh at the roosters that come in and that like really throw off the wall things, I just thought it was a really interesting, like, yeah, maybe, because we've all put it in our head, like Goonies. We've all put it in our head. Is it going to be the one that
Right. Well, I mean, it's a cool idea that the sun is blazing the exact point where the treasure chest is. The question is, how would you know what day of year? You got to be exact. It'd have to be a certain week.
It's a postmark. It's one of the postmarks that is an outlier because I've heard there's a group of searchers doing a lot of analysis on those postmarks, and there's a couple of outliers.
Well, what's the poem say? If you've been wise and found the blaze. So somehow we're supposed to figure this out, I think.
Well, Christy, you're obviously onto something because what Indy had to do in the Well of Souls was focus the sun's beam. And you've got to be in tight focus with the word that's key. Obviously, it's blaze. You have to be in tight focus with the word.
I got you.
You need to figure out how to focus the rainbow beam of the sun.
A prism. I think we need a prism. That would a sun through a prism would show the rainbow, wouldn't it?
Exactly. Is Bill Gorman in the room? He'll know how to do that.
He is in the room.
Yeah.
Bill knows how to do that.
Well, Bill just said you have to go to school in Colorado to learn its name means color, like color in Colorado. So he's already down the rainbow road.
I'm shocked this thing hasn't been picked up. Oh, that's right. It has by 25 searchers so far.
The Solstice, Redneck Express says. Yeah, it's an interesting thought. I mean, I would love for that to be it. That's a whole, expedition unknown, treasure hunt type of solve. I just don't know how the poem gets us there. That's all. But I would like to go through the thrill of chase and see sunlight, sun, shadow, where any hints toward that toward that kind of a solution. He says rainbow, but yeah. In the
He talks
middle
about
equals solstice.
he talks about different meteorological events, like when it was raining or the sun went behind a
Yeah,
cloud,
that's
or
true. He
different
does.
things like.
And he says the cup covered her whole face, almost as if the sun being covered by something. Yeah, I mean it's kind of there. So that's kind of interesting.
Like we're watching history unfold here, folks. We're going to solve this thing tonight.
And
Aren't
it's
you
a
glad to hear?
podcast at this point. Yeah. Sorry
Yeah.
about the video
Come on.
issues,
John
everybody.
Martinez just arrived. He's going to give us the final clue, and then we're picking it up by morning. I mean,
Uh,
that's what's going to happen.
Sean, I think you need to come on the show and tell everybody where you've been and what you've been doing for the last year. So you have an
Yeah,
invite to come on sometime.
I think he's found it. I think we've all
Ah,
almost found it. Again, oh, and I got blown up a little bit on the blogs of I said everybody needs to share their aha moment because if they share it, this would be solved. I didn't say it exactly. It's a little bit of a wordplay, kind of like the lawyer in the room. I said if everyone had that one thing that they don't want to tell anybody and shared it, I think this could be solved. I don't think in our society with our skullduggery situations of people and I don't think everyone could be honest and come to the table and do it, but I think I've heard a couple of ahas from a couple of people and I thought, oh my gosh, that can't be a coincidence, but that alone doesn't solve it. It would take all the other pieces. I just don't think it's plausible or realistic to actually happen. But I think if it happened, it would be solved by tomorrow. It would be done. And then what would we do with our lives? I mean, we would have nothing to do.
so Sassy says, K-Pro, what word did you say also meant rainbow? Did you say there's a word that also meant rainbow?
No, I think Joel did. Didn't you say that was brown?
A
Which
word that
brown
also
trout,
meant
rainbow
rainbow?
trout?
No, he was trying to make the
No.
connection between brown as a color in the rainbow, right? Roy
Yeah,
G
No, I
did.
was
The
talking
red,
about
saying
orange,
rainbow.
yellow. Yeah.
that it was interesting you have in such close proximity with the poem Forrest referencing a rainbow, which is a type of trout,
Mm-hmm.
and a color, and brown, which is also a color and a type of trout.
So would brown be capitalized if he did in fact mean the home of brown trout, meaning wherever brown trout originated, anything like that?
Okay, so
That's the
confirmation
question.
bias.
Yeah.
Mine, if you look up the like species name, you can see one of the species that were brought over when trout was first brought over to the U.S. Actually, it has a B at the start of their name, and so you would capitalize it. So you can force fit anything. That's why I had it. I had it as my first solve. That was
All
my home.
right. We got a super chat from Mr. William. Thank you, William. Mike, in my war for me, it says that he flew 270 degrees and then turned 30 degrees into the sun. So we're getting the sun references from the book. So that's if it's a whole shadow sun thing. I mean, that's really cool. I'm just trying to figure out how we figure that out. How do you figure out that the blaze is some kind of a rock formation and then the sun has to shine through it at a certain time of day? Um, yeah, not sure. I would have to look at the poem in that way, I guess.
So Forrest was asked which direction does the blaze face, northeast, west, or south?
Mm-hmm.
And he said, I'm thinking it's not any of those.
Mm-hmm.
Well, the sun is a ball of fire that is facing every direction
as it traverses across the sky, right? He said, and he also says,
it's a sphere. It's literally facing.
Oh, you mean if the sun is? Oh, I gotcha. Because when they said, "Is the blaze a single object?" He said, in a word, yes, it's the sun. Yeah, I gotcha. And then he says, "I didn't take a radial off it."
Yeah. No. Yeah. So if you're so if you're trying to look at the sun through a particular area, you're not going to want to look at the sun very long. Terry Scant, Marvel gaze, or you're going to go blind.
I like it. And I know people that have an astronomical solve with stars in the sun.
At the sun. Look quickly down.
And is it feasible to move the sun? No.
And you got to look quickly down because that shadow is going to move. The sun will go away from whatever you're looking through. Yep. That's kind of interesting.
Oh wait, but what about if the blaze is the sun feasible to move? And he said it's not probable. Something like it's not.
Have
probable.
You even seen Superman 2? It's possible, but it's not feasible to do so.
Yes, because if we had Superman powers. Okay.
Oh, Steve Wayne says, unless you bring a flashlight. Meaning you can shine a flashlight through the same hole and get the same shadow.
Exactly.
Because I was
Oh
just
my
about to say, what if it's a cloudy that day you're there and you don't have the sun? You could use the
Turn a sandwich
flashlight.
and a flashlight.
Now we're getting crazy.
Okay, William is saying incorrect. The sun is stationary star and the Earth is what turns. Okay, William, stop this mayhem.
That's your opinion. He probably thinks the Earth is round too.
Now, Sheet
Okay.
Strove just said Highway of the Sun is 50 miles long. That's up there in Glacier National Park, Highway of the Sun, right?
Everyone just remember, don't call me a 3%er.
And at the end of the book, all the trees are cut down and they don't cast a shadow because somebody cut them all down. And he's looking at the moon. You guys are going down the biggest rabbit hole of all.
And what does the moon
You
do,
guys!
Mike? It reflects the light from the sun.
Say that again? Oh, the light from the sun, yeah.
That's what the moon does. It just reflects the
Man.
light from the sun.
If you've been wise and found... Well, I've heard people say wise, the wise men, they were looking for a star. The Star of Bethlehem.
Okay, you totally watched AGK last night. You watched AGK.
No, I didn't see that part, but I've heard of that before.
Oh, that's exactly what
where
he said.
They went? Oh, I got you.
Yeah, so he's like, so then wise is the sun because that's what a star is. And so we've cracked this. So so if you came to it and Toei came to it yesterday, I mean, my two search guys, this is done. We figured out the place.
And how does water get warm? Because the sun's on it.
Not in Yellowstone.
Yeah, not in Yellowstone. That would be from the Earth, right?
No, actually, if you're going by early reports, I think that the water was warm because of the friction over the rocks. That was how they,
gotcha.
That's how they thought the fire hole was warmed. Because that makes a lot of sense.
Oh, they say Joe Louis is a 2%er. I'm just
A
saying.
2%er.
2%er. Just saying. Okay. I wrote a book about how to be.
Camouflage? Camouflower?
I think
Shadows are important. I'm not sure what he meant by camouflage.
Yeah, I think is that in $17 a square inch drawing night? Because I have that book and now it's open and I might just jump into it. You don't know.
Why did you choose the night when the video was the worst to go so long? I've got to get off of this thing. We got to be done.
Right.
11 o'clock. Michael, I have to go to work in the morning. I have a big meeting in the morning. So.
All right, everybody. So some interesting ideas. Sorry about the video issue. Some people said the video's okay, so I don't know what's going on. I got to research this and figure it out.
Those people just have very low expectations. Thank you so much for having me on. You guys are the best.
Awesome.
Yeah, thanks for coming on, Joel. As always, you always have an open invite.
Yeah, I'm going to go back to work.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right.
Have a good night.
So, yeah, that's interesting. I think we should go through the book, though. I think that should be the next couple of vlogs as we go through the book and just see what he says. There are hints to these clues. What are the hints? I mean, I know everybody's looked for those, but I don't think we've actually sat down in our live show and tried to figure out what the hints are.
Well, and I don't think we have discussed. Okay, so you are a new search partner of mine, and we have not gone and sat down, and we've talked more about the chase and things when we were just up in Yellowstone, but we have not gone page to page and looked at all of the different nuances. And like, I haven't asked you, do you think there's anything in the photographs? Do you think there's anything in the illustrations?
Right.
Do you think, yeah.
We should go. I think we should, for future shows, that's what I think we should start going over. For sure, right?
Yeah, I'm up for it.
So, thank you everybody for tuning in. We apologize for this video issue, and we apologize for the issue at the beginning. We definitely have something going on here. So
it's all Mike's fault.
All right. So Wayne Ross says, go watch the AGK video, the AGK afternoon show yesterday at the 50-minute mark. That's where he calls in, and that's where he brings up the arch. So he found an arch. I don't think
it's the afternoon. I think it's the evening, isn't it, Wayne Ross, or is it the
I don't know.
Afternoon?
Oh, people will find it. It's the 50-minute mark, and Wayne calls in. So that is interesting for sure. Yeah. So we will be back live on Monday. I don't know. Maybe we start talking about the hints. We'll see. We also have some proxy items out there that we need to talk about and give some clues for.
Yeah, because we went to Yellowstone and we decided how do we go to Yellowstone and not put some proxy items out. There's some proxy items out there, and I think we're going to start throwing out some. We're going to have to build some hints and clues, and that's what I was worried about when you were throwing out the pictures and just going through them. I'm like, oh, don't show the proxy items.
No, I won't show them.
They are so yeah, we're going to have to get those out. Won't it be fun for those of you that are up in the Yellowstone area? You will be able to find them, so it'll be awesome.
Yeah, it should be fun. So we will get those out soon. Again, there is an email list for the clues, for the coins. If you guys want to get on the email list, just email me at cowlazars@gmail.com. Brown is not a word that is key. Well, then what is? Would be my question. Good night, Vicky. Good night, everybody. Remember, thumbs the video up. Thumbs it up for video problems. And
That's
make
important.
sure you hit subscribe because you never know. Me and K-Pro could just decide to go through the book this weekend and go live. You
Yeah,
just
because
never
we might
know.
be having some things happening that we need to tell you about.
That's right. That is true. So thanks for tuning in, everybody, and we will see you next time.
Bye.
Thanks for the super chats, everybody.